To the moon and back in a day.
Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs and the Idiot Quilter, and welcome to my vlog number 216 for Monday, May the 10th, 2021, and it's day 425 of COVID. So, what's on this week? Well, let's take a look what's behind me. This is the quilt that is all embroidered, machine embroidered. It's the one that I showed you some blocks from the last couple of weeks. Well, yesterday I got it all sewn together. I added my borders to it. I think it's looking pretty good. I had one little problem with one of the rows, and I had to remove the block from it. And I'll talk more about that on the Idiot Quilter tomorrow, because it pertains to the Idiot Quilter subject matter a little bit better than here today. But now this is just the top. It's not completely done. Later today I'm going to layer it, put the batting in it, and do some quilting. Put the backing on, do some quilting. It'll be a minimal amount of quilting. I haven't decided exactly what yet. I'll probably just do stitch in the ditch with my walking foot around the outline of each of the white squares, and then maybe something down in the borders, because each of those white squares has already been quilted by the machine. Yes, this did take quite a long time. On average 45 minutes for each one of those blocks, and so multiply that by 20. And yeah, but I really like the final result. It is not technically, it is a quilt, but it's more of a wall hanging. In fact, it is a wall hanging. And that brings me to another problem. I got to find a wall to hang it on, because I'm running out of space. And speaking of running out of space and walls, I also finished completely my little piece of textile art. The one where I used the mixed media products on tearaway stabilizer and ran it through my printer and got this, and I am very, very pleased with the way this turned out. I think it looks great, and I'm glad I chose to do the attic window style on here, because that I think really makes it stand out. I'm going to do more pieces like this. I'm going to continue experimenting with Fibre Arts and that book that this is based on. I still haven't gotten any further in that book, but I will. And it looks like it has a few other techniques too that I might like to try. Lots of things to try, and just my day is filled. So many projects I want to get to, and well, you know what it's like. You just have so many ideas and so many plans, and you just don't get to everything. Okay, so moving on. Oh, by the way, I do have a tutorial for that fiber art piece, and the link is in the show notes below for that if you're interested. And you don't have to do it as fiber. On fabric, you could do the same technique using cardstock and using your mixed media supplies that you have. So if you're an art journaler, this is a great way to create a really interesting background. Okay. So that takes us to the YouTube channel of the week. This one is hilarious. It's a comedy. It's two British guys who I think do drag in the good days. And in fact, they mention in their bio that I think that or on one of the videos I saw, that they performed often at a little pub in London called Halfway to Heaven. And Walter and I have been there a couple of times in our trips. It's a great little place. And I don't like drag shows particularly. I mean, a guy dressed up as a woman, yeah, okay, big deal. But when they lip sync, that's what puts me off. But at this place I just mentioned in London, this is London, England, okay, not London, Ontario, they actually use their own voices to sing. And I think that's, even if they don't have the best voice in the world, I think it's better than lip syncing. Because it adds to the fun, it adds to the comedy, it adds to the entertainment. So these two guys have decided that since they're isolated for COVID and they like to perform, that they would do their own performances out of their house and put it on YouTube, and they are hilarious. Now, of course, it's British humor, and not everybody gets British humor, but we like it. Walter and I, we watch a lot of British television shows. We find them better, really, than what we have in North America in many ways. Plus, they're not afraid to, well, they don't tend to be politically correct. And I find that refreshing. Okay, so call me a pagan. I don't know. But anyways, check out their YouTube channel. It's called Isolation Creations. This week's YouTube channel is one that deals with comedy and was created out of the crisis of the COVID situation. And it's called the Isolation Creations. And this is two guys in Britain who I think probably do drag in the good days. And so they've decided to take their comic talents and put them onto YouTube. And they are hilarious, these two guys, and the get-ups that they wear and the content that they have. They do song parodies, they do parodies on things that happen in life, they do parodies on old British comedy television shows. They're just a lot of fun. So if you want something that's going to give you a laugh and make you think about the everyday problems that we've been facing for quite some time, then check out the Isolation Creations. So the link for Isolation Creations is in the show notes below. There's a link for Stephen and Walter Live. If you haven't seen it yet, there is, for the first 20 minutes, there's a little bit of a slight echo, and we didn't realize that we were having problems with our sound. It seems every week we keep having some problems with the way we do Stephen and Walter Live. Well, it all started when we changed locations because of lighting, and I think we've got the lighting pretty much down now, and I think I've got the recording down, you know, the live connection down now. And I thought that I had the sound down, but I did figure out what the problem was, and thanks to those people who let us know, because we can't hear. This is something, I keep saying I'm going to do a video about this. When we make videos, what you see is not what we're looking at. So some things we can't really hear. We don't have sophisticated enough equipment to do monitoring and all this kind of stuff with it. But anyways, we figured out the problem, and so it's fine. And we also added a new feature. I had been looking around to see, you know, how people that do lives often have a countdown saying, you know, they'll be live in 5 minutes and it counts it down or something, a little music in the background. And so I did some exploration and discovered that OBS, which is the program I have been using lately to do the live broadcast, has a facility in it that allows you to create that kind of thing. So I did. Yesterday, I was very proud of myself. And then, of course, our sound went kaflooey, but we fixed that. So just bear with it for the first 20 minutes. It's only a slight echo. It's not like major feedback, but we did solve the problem. Okay, so I already said the link's in the show notes. There's a link for the latest Idiot Quilter, episode 113. And there's a link for last week's So Chatty episode 7, where we discussed everything we know, which isn't a lot, about needles. Needles in sewing are very, very confusing with their specifications and what to use them for. So we're hoping we cleared that up, or we may have just muddled it more. You can be the judge. And yes, and I have a special episode of the Idiot Quilter there where I show you how I made the what's actually called digital fiber art. And if you're interested, it's a separate tutorial from this video, and the link is in the show notes, and you know, you might want to explore it. So that takes us to what's pissing me off this week. Well, you know that I always say a day without a delivery from Amazon is a day without sunshine. And although I'm saying that in sort of a funny way, I'm actually quite serious about that. We have ordered during COVID, and I think we're not alone. A lot of people do this. We've ordered a lot of stuff from Amazon. You know, it used to be, I would say, well, yeah, I need glue sticks. Well, I'll just go to the dollar store. Well, now I'll just go on Amazon. And that's what I do. But speaking of glue sticks, here's one thing that's pissing me off about Amazon right now. Now, before I say anything like this, I know that Amazon has been fighting in their distribution centers with COVID outbreaks. Our government should have gone in and anybody who was in a job like that should have got the vaccine at the same time as the frontline workers. But they didn't do that. And of course, it spreads like wildfire in a distribution, manufacturing sort of setting. And that's what's been happening to Amazon here in Ontario. So they get delayed on things, right? Because they're workers. They don't have the manpower. However, having said that, this is not an excuse for what they do. I pay for Prime. I get charged about $9 Canadian every month to have the privilege of getting my packages within 1 or 2 days. Supposedly. Now, many times it does work out that way. But lately, and I don't know if it's because of the kind of products I'm ordering, I have found that it's under Prime. It says free delivery, but it doesn't tell you it's going to be 1 to 2 days. And you don't know when you're going to get it in some cases until you have clicked that final button to place the order. And then you find out you're not going to get it for a week. In some cases, I've gotten a notification from Amazon saying, sorry, your parcel has been delayed. You can expect it, and then they give me a range. And for example, I ordered a box of glue sticks, washable glue sticks, I think 30 of them. It was a good price. Why so many glue sticks, you may ask? I need them for the 3D printer. Okay, basically you put down a layer of washable glue stick on the bed, and that helps your first layers of whatever you're printing to stick better. So I go through a lot of glue sticks with that. So I ordered this box of 30, and they gave me one date. Well, that date came and went, and they had a note up when you go in and check your order saying, sorry for the delay, but you can expect your package between, I don't know, they gave me about a 6-7 day period when it could come in a window. And just to sweeten the deal, they turned around and said, oftentimes it comes the next day. Yeah, I'm still waiting for my glue sticks. Now, they did have a caveat in there that said, if you don't receive it by such and such a date, you can apply for a refund. Well, thank you. I want my, oops, I almost said a bad word. I want my glue sticks, okay? So, all right, I'm not desperate right now, so I can wait. But the point is, I'm paying extra for faster delivery. At least that's what I thought I was paying for. Now, it turns out, though, there's a little bit of a loophole in this. If it comes from Amazon directly, usually they can get it to you within that 1 to 2 days Prime window. But if it's a third-party seller, no guarantee. It'll still come up that it's Prime, but you got to think about it. What I was doing is I saw Prime means I'm going to get it in 1 or 2 days. No. Prime means you're not going to pay for delivery if it's on Prime. And not everything that they have on Amazon is under the Prime category. So you got to watch for that too. I guess what I'm saying is don't make any kind of assumptions here. Look carefully at what they say a delivery date's going to be and whether or not it's Amazon. You can see that in the notes if you read carefully enough, whether it is Amazon, it's coming from Amazon, or if it's coming from a third-party seller. Now, as a general rule, I stick to things that are going to come from Amazon. I don't want to deal with third parties because, sorry to say it, but a lot of those third parties are from China. And there's all kinds of problems with that, as you well know. However, not everything you order on Amazon is necessarily comes directly from Amazon. So you got to do your homework on this. But what P owes me about the whole thing is this is not clearly stated when you decide to take out a Prime membership. Okay, buyer beware. Now, I'm not saying that Amazon is purposely trying to trick us, but just like any company, there's always fine print. So you need to read the fine print. Now, do I like Prime? Yes. I have gotten a great deal of value and saved money on shipping by having a Prime membership. Plus, there are other benefits to Prime. Prime Television, Amazon Television. It isn't as good as Netflix, but it's getting better. I have found it is getting better. So I kind of like getting that. Now there's also something in there, and I should explore it a little further, that has to do with electronic books. And I'm still not absolutely sure how that one works. Usually I read electronic books all the time. Always have for a long time. I have a Kobo, which is the Canadian version of a Kindle. And I enjoy it. And I'm tied right into the Kobo store. And what I really like is I'll be laying in bed. I usually read at night just before I go to sleep. And I might be finished my book and I still want to carry on with another one. So I can go right from my Kobo into the Kobo store and buy my next book. My account's all set up. I hit a couple of buttons. Bang, I've got it. And I really like that. However, when I first started with electronic books, they were cheap. But electronic books are no longer cheap. Electronic books cost you as much, if not more in some cases, as if you were to buy the paperback or a hardcover of the book. Okay, but I still like reading on electronic products. Now, to bring this back to Amazon, Amazon Prime supposedly has some sort of a book service. I'm not sure. I think some of them are free, but I think supposedly you're getting a better price. As I said, I haven't really figured that out yet. I also have Amazon Music, but that's not included in Prime. I pay separately for Amazon Music. Well, I have the Prime service of Amazon Music, but I think that costs me about $9 a month as well. All these subscriptions for things now these days, you know. If you were to look at them all and add up how much you might be paying for them, at first, you know, say, well, $9 a month, that's nothing. That kind of thing. Yeah, multiply that by how many different subscriptions you might have for all kinds of things. It starts to add up, doesn't it? But that's the way of the world. Again, we've moved into an electronic virtual world. We buy things on them. This was sort of what we talked a little bit about yesterday in Stephen and Walter. We buy things, we socialize, we get our information, we make our appointments, we talk to people in our family and friends on it. We truly live in an electronic world. And since COVID, everything's that way. And I don't think we're going to go backwards. I think we're going to suddenly have a hybrid world when we come out of this whole thing. And I think that's what really the world is becoming. I mean, it's been predicted by science fiction writers and scientists and everybody else, futurists, whatever you want to call them, for years, that this is the kind of world we'd have. It's sort of a Star Trek world, you know. All we need is a food replicator. Oops, I have a 3D printer. They do have food 3D printers. They do. Not widespread yet, but it's just a matter of time. So, you know, you're going to go up to a hole in your wall someday and you're just going to say Earl Grey, hot. And those of you that are Star Trek fans know exactly what that reference is from. How did I get on all of this from Amazon? Let's go back to Amazon, okay? So what's pissing me off with Amazon is I'm an impatient person. I pay for Prime. I want 1 to 2 days delivery. But what also pisses me off is I didn't read the fine print. So buyer beware. So back to my glue sticks. I'm still waiting for them. I'm supposed to get them by the 12th of May. Today is the 10th. That's Wednesday. We shall see. In the meantime, I ordered another box of glue sticks. It comes from a third-party seller. I have no idea when they're coming because after I checked out, I found out they would send me an email to let me know the delivery date. I ordered those at the end of last week. I have not got an email yet. Got to check my orders after I'm finished this today and see if there's anything new on that. So, yeah, buyer beware. Don't get pissed off with Amazon until you've read the fine print. And I guess it's just the way it is. Okay, so that takes us to product review. Did I buy something? Yes, I bought some crafting supplies and I bought some fabric. Let me grab the fabric. I've been on a fabric buying binge the last couple of days. I'm I'm such a sucker when it comes to finding some really pretty fabrics online. I want the whole line. Coffee. And so I buy a lot of this stuff. And yes, I have no idea what I'm going to do with it, but I'll find something. I'm not going to take these out of the box to show you everything. I'm just going to hold them up, show you this one set. A lot of these are batiks. I love batiks. Very nice color range here. I always buy a minimum of 2 meters of each thing. So I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 16 meters of fabric in this box. And in this box, just hold these up here. I bought these. These are a little bit more wild, and I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but the colors in them, the patterns in them really attracted me. And I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's about 12 meters in here. And tomorrow on the Idiot Quilter, I will talk about the companies I bought these from in a little bit more detail, and I'll show them in more specific detail as well. So if you're interested in my fabric collection, check out tomorrow's edition of the Idiot Quilter. But I bought some crafting supplies. Now, I haven't bought any crafting supplies in a long time. And I think I mentioned last week that Class Act, my local scrapbooking store, had a big sale, 15% off everything that you bought. It was in honor of National Scrapbooking Day, which was May the 1st. So I looked online to see what they had, and there were a few things that I was interested in that I wanted to replenish in my stash. One of those are some little flowers. See if I can get the glare off it a little bit. And you know how I love Tim Holtz? Well, Tim Holtz has some paper dolls. I love his paper dolls. And these are called paper dolls, and I think they're groups or something. So I got a package of those. I love using these in an art journal. Yeah, when do I art journal anymore? I don't. But I like them for other things that I make. I also bought, these are feet. Box corner feet. So you put these on the corners and you've got little feet. And there was something I was thinking of the other day where I thought maybe I could use these. Oh yeah, I know what it is now. Never mind. Okay, that's a future project. And I don't know, I bought these because they had a sewing theme, and these are chipboard punch outs or push outs. I have no specific purpose for these, but I just thought, you know, be nice to have this, you know, I'll use them for something. So that's what I bought in crafting supplies, and as I said, I haven't bought crafting supplies in quite a while, and I feel a little guilty about that during COVID because I love to support the Class Act. Carol's the owner. I know Carol very, very well. She's a friend, and I haven't bought anything from her in quite a while. When I first got into scrapbooking many years ago and discovered Carol's shop and the whole bit, now I used to work for her too for a while in my early days of retirement. For something to do, I used to spend a lot of money. The joke was she'd give me a paycheck and I'd hand it back to her plus a little extra because of all the stuff that I ordered. And you know, as I look around my craft room right now, I have an unbelievable stash of stuff, and I'm still playing with the idea of gutting this room, getting rid of a lot of this stuff, doing a major purge, and redesigning this into my sewing room. But I would need to hire people to do that, some of that, because I want new flooring, new counters, all that kind of stuff. And that means, you know, it's still not safe to have people coming in your house, not here where I live, to do work on things. And I'm not really sure if I want to do that. It's a drastic change. Also, a lot of money to do it as well. I'm figuring it could cost me as much as $5,000 to alter this room, because I'm talking, you know, ripping up the carpeting, putting down laminate, new counters, like IKEA type counters that are designed, that I could design for, you know, a cutting station and other things. And of course you got to do basic painting and all that kind of stuff. And this room has a lot of stuff in it. So anyways, maybe I'll start small and just I keep saying I'm going to do this, go through all of my art supplies and really do a serious purge. That would give me some shelf space if I did that. And I know I've got a lot of friends that do mixed media and things like that who would just be jumping at the chance to grab up my discards. So, I don't know. I probably won't. Not for a while. Okay, so again, I went off on a tangent. So that's what I bought this week, and what's that take us to? Another story about my grandmother, and I called it Losing My Religion. Okay, my family, there was a period when I was much younger, when I was a little kid. We went to church every Sunday. That was by my mother's rules, I guess, because my mother grew up in a fairly religious family. My grandmother was faithfully, for most of her life, she went to church every Sunday. That was my mother's mother, but that's not what this story's about. On the other side of my family, however, I don't remember my grandparents darkening the doors of a church very often. I think they went to each of our christenings, their grandchildren's christenings, and that's about it. Now, I think there was a time when my grandparents were much younger that they did go to church on a more regular basis. I really don't know for sure, but that's not to say that my grandmother wasn't spiritual. My grandmother did have a belief in a superior power, and she did read her Bible as well. But she didn't go to church. Now, she may have had a falling out, or she may have come to the conclusion that I did as well in my life, later in my life, where I decided, why am I going to church? Why am I dragging myself out of bed every Sunday morning to go to church? I don't like it. I'm not getting a heck of a lot out of it. Now, that's not to say that people who go to church are wrong. They are not. The church offers something for you. It may offer you a sense of community. It may offer you a certain amount of comfort. It may help you with lots of things on a philosophical basis, on an emotional basis, whatever. And that's fine. I've got nothing against anybody going to church. But for me, I don't believe in organized religion. And I think that's what happened to my grandmother at some point. I don't know why. I know why it happened for me, but that's a story for another day. I just don't know why. So, as a kid growing up, I never ever really remember my grandmother going to church. But she had a strange religion. Her religion was made up of the Bible, Reverend Rex Humbard, and the Zodiac. Okay, weird combination. First of all, let's talk about the Bible. My grandmother had a Bible always sitting on a little table next to her favorite chair in the living room. And she would read it on occasion. And she had pages marked in it. But my grandmother was not a Bible thumper. She wouldn't sit us down as kids and go, according to Deuteronomy 5, verse 10 to 12, thou shalt... No, she was never like that. She would sometimes refer to the Bible, but she was not a Bible thumper of any sort. But she did enjoy watching church services on TV. And her favorite was Reverend Rex Humbard. Now, I don't know if any of you know who that is. He was an American evangelist who was one of the first, probably next to Billy Graham, to have a regular spot on TV. And he had a huge following and a huge church building. And he also had a lot of money because he was a charlatan, basically. He was getting people to send him money, and he would pray for you. And he had a prayer service. And those things still exist today. Send us your dollars and we'll pray for you. Pray to get into heaven. Give us money first. Pay your way into heaven is more what it's like. And my grandmother did. And my parents, of course, always poo-pawed that kind of thing. Yeah, your grandmother and Reverend Rex Humbard. My father always said, well, he's a scammer and whatnot. And my father was right. But he would get into arguments with my grandmother about Reverend Rex. And my grandmother would defend him to the nth degree. Reverend Rex, that is. In fact, after my grandmother passed away, my parents found all kinds of publications from Reverend Rex, thanking her for her donation, asking for more. My grandmother gave a lot of money to Reverend Rex Humbard. In fact, more than my parents ever thought. Luckily, it didn't put my grandmother in the hole. However, it's just the whole point, and it really ticked off my dad, that my grandmother was taking all her money, or giving a good portion of her money, to a charlatan. The other part of her religion was based on the zodiac. My grandmother read the horoscopes, or listened to them when they came on the radio, regularly. Now, she didn't do star charts or anything like that. I think it was more a source of amusement for her than a real absolute belief in the zodiac. But nevertheless, she would quote, oh yeah, well, they're a Leo, so this is probably why they're doing this, or something like that. So it was a strange combination of the Bible, organized religion, pay to pray to get into heaven kind of Reverend Rex Humbard charlatan things, TV evangelism, and the zodiac. Yeah. So, did I inherit, or was I influenced by any of this from my grandmother? Yes, I was. I was influenced by her in the terms of organized religion to realize that you don't need to go to a church to be spiritual and to be a good person. That organized religion, one must examine its place in their life. And if you go to church, that's okay. She didn't have anything against anybody going to church. Well, she did have a little bit of a problem with Catholics. But then don't we all? Yeah, never mind. That's a touchy subject, isn't it? But, she believed that you didn't need a building to have faith. She also believed that there are alternative forms of spirituality. It might be evangelism. As long as you're not being taken down the road, there are forms of evangelism out there that, are really worthwhile. They give people a sense of community, that kind of thing. They're not out there to take your money. So what I'm saying is, just because Reverend Rex Humbard was a charlatan, and Jimmy Baker after him and that, and I'm staying away from Billy Graham, because Billy Graham, he's very, very well respected, especially in the States, although I think pretty much his was all about money too. And there's a few others out there. I don't know. I don't have any faith in any of them. But, if some people go to evangelistic church type places, that's fine if it does something for them. Just don't throw it down my throat. And that was one thing my grandmother never did. She never, ever pushed her beliefs down somebody's throat. In fact, you know how you get the Jehovah's Witnesses coming to your door? My grandmother would invite them in. She'd sit them down and she would discuss with them. And she didn't do it to bait them. She genuinely was the kind of lady who wanted to know more about things. She had an inquisitive mind. So she would sit them down and she would have a long talk with them, and she would listen to what they had to say, and then she would talk to them about what she believed in. So she knew a lot about Jehovah's Witnesses from those. Mormons, same thing. She was always very, very interested in, what we would call today, if you took a course, in comparative religions. Of course, the zodiac thing, I was interested in the zodiac. I still am. At one point in my early years, Got a book on how to cast star charts, and I worked those out. I learned quite a bit about how, when people do your horoscope or whatever, what they do. I've long gone forgotten most of that stuff because I did that when I was a teenager, kind of a deal. But that was a direct influence of my grandmother talking about that kind of thing. However, for me, I don't put a lot of faith in the stars. So, it's more entertainment than anything else. Although I have to say, sometimes when you read those character analyses based on your sign, when I read the ones, I'm a Cancerian, Cancer is my sign, I have a lot of those characteristics that they talk about, or at least I think I do. I don't know. You can read anything into anything. But back to my grandmother. So that was the kind of lady she was. I think bottom line of the whole thing, my grandmother taught me by example, just try to do your best and just try as much as you can to be a good person and to treat other people in a fair and kind way. I don't always live up to that standard, but I think more than anything, I think that's what all religions really, fundamentally, is what they talk about. And so in that case, my grandmother, she had her religion because she was a good person and she tried to do the right thing by other people. Okay, next week, another story about my grandmother. Okay, 3D printing. What have I been working on? Wait till you see this. I love this. This is a complete toy, but I love it. Look at that. A retro rocket. Kind of brings up images of Flash Gordon and, B-type space movies and things like that. But this little sucker took a while to make. It took a couple of days, but I love the way it's mounted. This is supposed to be a plume of smoke coming out of it, and I did it in multiple colors because there were different pieces. I had to glue the pieces together. You printed the big orange part first, and then this part was another, and the flames were another, and this was another. So 4 parts, and yeah, I think it looks really cool. Problem is I don't have a shelf space to really display it properly, so guess what I'm making now on the 3D printer? More shelves. Yeah, as we speak. They're being printed right now. I did this flower pot, and I think it's really cool. It looks like stone until you touch it. You know that it's plastic. But it turned out pretty nice. I'm going to plant a philodendron in it because through COVID, I've been rooting philodendrons because they're the only plant I can't kill. Every other plant I kill. Well, it might be because I don't water them. That might be contributing to it. But I've got some rooting upstairs, and this one I'm going to use for those. Now, I did think of taking some of my, out of my stash, I have these rubs, and going along each of these little relief parts to make them stand out more. And I may give that a try. I don't know. We'll see. But that's a practical thing that you can make with your 3D printer. I don't make a lot of practical things. For example, does anybody need a statue of Ramses II? I thought it was going to be bigger than this. Again, I did it out of that marble stuff, but it's very tiny, see, next to my hand. I could make it bigger, but why? It's just there. It's part of my collection of things that have to do with history or with landmarks and, places to see. And I have been to Egypt, and I have seen Ramses II statues in Egypt as well. So, yeah, that's one reason why I printed it out. So, that's what I've been working on. I don't think my printer doesn't have any downtime, and knock wood, it's been working great. I say knock wood because I'm on a Facebook group that deals with 3D printing, mostly with the same 3D printers I've got. And every day someone's having a horrendous problem with their printer, and I'm not. And I don't know why. I'm waiting for the axe to fall. But knock wood, everything's running fine. So as I said, right now I'm printing off some shelves, and then I'm not sure what my next project is. Well, yeah, I do know what it is. I just managed to finish off a full reel of filament. So I have an empty reel. Well, there are designs where you can print specially designed little drawers that you can fit into these empty reels, and it becomes a storage unit. And that's what I was talking about, these little feet that I bought that I could put on that. But I've realized now that these mount on corners, and I'm dealing with a round thing, so no corners. So those aren't going to work on that. But anyways, you know, people make these, so they're not throwing the old empty reels out. They're recycling them in a sense for other things. And they look like it's great for holding little nuts and bolts and other little items and things like that. So we'll see. It's another thing to play with and to experiment with in the world of 3D printing. Okay, so that takes us to the next part of my Rolodex book. So take a look. So I have my 4 little mini journals all completed here. This one you've already seen, and this is the one I was showing you how to make with reminders now that I have it spelled correctly. That's one problem with the dynamo gun, right? It's very easy to misspell as you're going through the alphabet. And I put this little lady on here, and then I made 2 more, and in the same manner. This one's called Things, and this one's called Important. And I thought having the little guy on the dog, you know, with the report card, he doesn't look too happy. I don't know if this was a great report card or not, but anyways, so those 4 things are done. Now the next things I want to show you that I'm going to stick in there are these library cards in the little pockets, and these 2 I already have made, and this one says remember, and the glue's not quite dry underneath these, and these little things I'm finding have a little bit of spring to them, so you need to use a good glue that's going to grab quickly and hold it down for a minute so that they don't go boing. So put her on there, put this one on there. So I'm going to show you how I make these, and I almost started before I turned on the camera, so excuse the fact that it's partially been started. So I just took a piece of cardstock, figured out my size. I think this is what is it? I think I cut the cardstock 4 3/4 inches by 6.5 inches, and I still had to shave down my little library card a little bit. I could have gone and made these a little bigger. I didn't really care. I didn't want to waste the paper. Since when's that ever bothered me? Never. But anyways, then just fold it in half, and I gave it a crease with the bone folder. And now I'm doing these little corners on here, and I have this wonderful punch that does cloud and scallop shapes and things like that. It's in the it's from We Are Memory Keepers. I've had it for many years, and it does a nice job. It'll go through fairly heavy paper, and I want to put in the little notch that's at the top. And I have also from We Are Memory Keepers, I have this little notch punch, and I just eyeball it, try to get it in the center the best I can, and if it's off a little bit, hey, it's not a big deal. And there we go. I've got notches cut. Now I'm using wet glue to seal these 2 pieces, and I'm going to put some glue down along this edge and along here, just a thin bead of it, because I don't want the library card, when it gets in there, to stick to the glue. And this is why I don't recommend that you use one of these, a tape runner, on this, because they don't really, well, they do dry, but because it's so thin, your card gets caught in it, and then you've got a problem. So, and I'm just squishing the excess glue outwards, not inwards, to this. And this is going to take a couple of minutes to set up. But meanwhile, I can go around the edges with my black Memento ink, just to grunge it up a little bit. Make it look like it's been handled many times over. All part of the vintage look of this Rolodex book. Okay, and maybe go around the back as well. And I'll do the library card as well. You can put as much of this on as you want. I tend to put only a small amount, just so it bleeds into
the face of the card a little bit to give it that worn look. You know what else might be really cool, but I'm not going to do it here. If you crumple up the card a little bit and then flatten it back out and then just go lightly over it with the ink, it'll look like it's really worn. Now, we need a title for this, keeping in line with what I put up in these ones. Let's see. I think this one I'm just going to put Notes. Notes would be good. Well, I have one that says Notes here. I don't know. We'll have another Notes. That's okay. So just type, or not type, but punch basically this out. Actually, these little things were ingenious devices when they came out with them for label making. Revolutionary in their day, I suppose. I did spell that right, didn't I? Yep, I did. Okay. Just trip that off. The more business office models of those had a cutter in them already. And yeah, let me just put a little point on one end of this. Just for aesthetics. And again, I'm not being real precious about any of this. You can be if you wish, if that's your style. My style tends to be grungy. Put a little glue on this. Oops, I said a little glue. Yeah, a little glue. And get it the right side up, and let's just go off center a little bit for variety. Give it a good press down so it'll hold. And it should slip right in here. And it does. I would recommend you let your glue on the edges of this dry, like let it have 20 minutes. Excuse me, 15-20 minutes to dry before you start sticking the card in, or you may never get the card back out, but I'm living dangerously. So there we go. I have all of these little insert pieces done. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in the Rolodex in various spots. But the next thing is to add the other pieces ephemera that I want in there.
I'm soon going to run out of parts to that series. It means I need a new project. Have to think about that. Okay, so events in the past week. Update on my mother. Actually, I talked to her twice in the week. Talked to her on a FaceTime on Tuesday. She was in bed. I hate that. And I said, okay, Mom, why are you in bed? And I said, are you not feeling well? And she goes, well, no, I'm not. And I said, what is it? What do you have some pain? Well, a little. I said, where? In your stomach? Well, yeah. Well, the staff member that was standing there helping her with the iPad turned around and says, well, she's just been a little tired. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Because that's what it is. My mother doesn't like getting out of bed in the morning. Now, I'm not calling her that early purposely. But if she can get them to serve her breakfast in bed and lunch in bed, she will. And they know this, okay? But, you know, it's her life and they let her live it whatever way she wants to. So, anyways, she was in bed, so it was a short conversation. Well, I called her, I did a FaceTime on Mother's Day yesterday with her. And she was out of bed at that point. She was looking much more alert. Of course, it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so, you know, she should have been awake by then. And my sister dropped off some Mother's Day goodies for her earlier. I don't know if she did it on Sunday or Saturday or whatever. And because she lives, you know, a kilometer away from my mother, so kind of a thing. Of course, she can't go in, so she just dropped them off and they picked them up at the door, kind of a thing. So I asked her, so did Lori deliver some goodies over for you? Oh, yes, she did. I said, so what'd she bring? Because it was from both my sister and myself, but my sister said she'd look after it, so I let her look after it. So I guess she got my mother a lily. I talked about this yesterday, so I'm not going to go over it again, but my mother thought it was very lovely, and it's very unusual, but I didn't see it. And I got to ask my sister what kind of lily it was. I don't think it's just like when I think of a lily, I think of the white lily, okay, the Easter lily kind of thing. I don't think it was that kind of lily. Anyways, my mother seemed to be very pleased with it, and that's nice. She also got her a box of chocolates. Well, you know my mother and chocolate. She loves it. She consumes it. She inhales it. So I asked my mother about that. I said, so, Mom, you know, you might want to go slow on those. Now, they were Lindor, the little chocolate balls. Now, my mother's not as fond of those as she is of Laura Secords. Laura Secords is a chocolate company here in Canada, very famous, but right now it's not easy to get them because I don't know if they have curbside pickup up their store or not. So I imagine what my sister did was when she was buying her groceries, because we could still go in the grocery stores, she probably picked up whatever chocolate they had there, and it was probably Lindor. Now, Lindor is a good chocolate. I like the Lindor chocolate balls, but they're very, very rich. So, you know, you can eat about one or two of those, and then you're going to hurl if you eat any more of those. At least that's the way I feel. And so I said to my mother, so eat those slowly, Mom, because they're very rich. Oh, yeah, she knows. I says, because you'll probably throw up if you eat too many at once. Oh, she says, already did that. Okay. Yeah, and I heard this staff person off there. I go, yep, she did. So I said, how many you got left? Well, not many. No, she scarfed down the half a box or more of them, like within having them in her hands for about 10 minutes. That's my mother. She has no self-control. I should speak, because I'm the same way. You put sweets around me and I'll inhale them. I'm even worse with ice cream. That's why I don't keep ice cream in the house, and that's why I don't keep chocolates in the house either, because I'm getting tubby again, and that doesn't help. So I get it, but I do know when to stop before I throw up. My mother doesn't seem to do it. It's kind of like a dog, you know. They eat and eat and eat, throw up, and then eat some more. So anyways, but if it makes her happy, then that's fine. I don't have to clean up the mess. Those poor people that work in the nursing home. We had Craft and Chat on Wednesday. We always have that the first Wednesday of every month. It was great. Had so much fun. We had new people there too as well. We're growing. I mean, we're still a small group, very small group, but new people are new people. And I'm hoping that as time goes by, we'll get a few more. So next one's in June, first Wednesday in June, whatever that date is. So come and join us. We have a good time. I get a lot of things done too when we have that. And Walter didn't really cook anything this week, but I did. So I'm going to show you what I made.
So this week, it's Stevie Cooks. And actually, Stevie heats up stuff he had cooked before and froze. And we are having, this is Avante Wednesdays, and we are having an Italian dish. And this is chicken tetrazzini with ham and other things.
Spinach.
Oh, spinach, that's right, what I put in it. So technically it's not chicken tetrazzini, it's chicken with ham and spinach. And we're having a wedge salad, which is basically an easy way to make a salad because you cut off a wedge of lettuce, put in some bacon bits, a little Parmesan cheese, a little black pepper, and dredge it all in blue cheese dressing, or Roquefort, and some not homemade bread. This is a baguette from the grocery store. And of course you have to have a little red wine because it's Italian night.
So yes, I can cook too, if I need to. If somebody else is going to cook for me, why not? My mother used to say that, well, if somebody else is cooking for me, she enjoyed that. When she would say that when she, in the old days when she and my father would come here for dinner, she would always say that. Okay, so what's coming up? I have no idea. I have projects I want to work on. We need to go out for a walk. In fact, we went out on Saturday. Went off to one of the local conservation areas. Well, it was packed. There weren't any parking spots really available. And we said, nope, too many people out here. I know it's outside, but it's too many people. Not going to do that. We'll go during the week with that. So we'll give that a try. But we're both getting tubby. We've got the COVID poundage on. And I basically stopped doing what I did for years. Getting up first thing in the morning, getting on my treadmill, and, I was on the treadmill for half an hour, 35 minutes, pretty much every day, and then that went down to about 5 days a week, and then it went down to about 3 days a week, and then I started to slow down the speed, and then I just stopped. I hate to say it, but exercising gives me stress. It eats into my day. But on the other hand, it would be nice to be able to get, when I take off my underwear, I don't have lines in my skin from the waistband. Okay, too much information. I know I shouldn't have shared that. But yeah. And it's not like we eat a lot of junk. Actually, I have to cut back on how much wine I drink. I do drink a fair amount of wine. Not so much during the week. Just Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Occasionally I'll have a glass on a Tuesday. Yeah, because that's liquid calories right there. And combining that with not getting a lot of exercise, yeah, it can only go one way. And at my age, I have no metabolism anymore to burn things off. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We'll think about it, but we've got to get out this week for a long walk in nature. And if we have some nice days, on top of it all, when we went out on Saturday, even if there hadn't been the people there, it started to rain as soon as we got there. So, yeah, what's that all about? We could just walk around our subdivision. We've done that before, but it's kind of boring. Same old kind of a thing. Yeah, well, when I can't see out of my eyes, then I know I have a problem. And it's getting pretty close to that. So what else? Nothing. That's life, I guess. So I guess we'll let you go then, because I've got nothing else to tell you. So I hope you have a good week. I hope you are getting that vaccine. I hope, faster than we are here where I live. And just be safe. Just be safe. And, we'll get out of this eventually. Okay, so tune in for the Idiot Quilter later tomorrow, and tail end of the week we'll have the next So Chatty up. So we'll see you then. Bye-bye for now.